So, Larry, we're
Well,
back. We are back. Um,
yeah,
so, I would like to ask you about a couple of things that
yeah.
maybe, some people don't talk to you about,
Okay.
which is tell me a little bit about where you were born, how you grew up, and what, if anything, was Jewish about it. Because I know you're a nice Jewish boy. But when I look at your art, it's not like, now I know there are Jewish elements of things that you've done in the past, which is great. But I have not yet, heard the real story about you and your Jewish background. So do you mind sharing with us?
Not at all. Not in the least, actually. So I grew up in the Bronx. I come from the Grand Concourse. I live 3 blocks away from Yankee Stadium. I went to Hope of Israel Temple off of 161st on Walton Avenue. And I took Hebrew lessons there. And I was bar mitzvah at another temple and on 168th Street in the Grand Concourse. I read my Haftorah. I was at we had it at the Sabra restaurant on, I believe it was 73rd Street and West End Avenue, if my recollection is correct. And I read my Haftorah. I am Jewish through and through.
Right.
So I am a Jewish spirit. It doesn't mean that I necessarily create Jewish iconography, like our dear
Right.
friend Yaakov Heller, who is a master at telling these beautiful stories in art of the people and the history of Judaism. But Judaism is in my soul, and I am a spirit of that. So that's all you need to have in order to uh, continue your beingness, is what I would say.
Right.
So
But
what more has to be said?
Well, I'm curious to know whether you feel that your Jewishness growing up, how did it influence what eventually became Laurence Gartel, the artist? And I'm not talking about the artwork itself. I'm not talking about the iconography. I'm talking about the neshama. I'm talking about the Yiddish soul inside and how it influenced the art.
Listen. During every Jewish holiday, people would come from all over to Joyce Kilmer Park across the street from where I lived. Everyone was well dressed in suits and jackets, and my cousins would come, and my little cousin Fern would wear white gloves, and the park was packed with Jewish people, and it was a celebration. Uh, I grew up with that during Jewish holidays and so on. And my father was part of the Jewish Men's Club at the Hope of Israel, and I took Hebrew lessons, and then further on. So it was always in me. I mean, it's always in me. That's what I have to say. I mean, there's no, the influence. The influence was being around other Jewish people who have soul, who are creative, who have brilliant minds. I mean, I could name like 10 friends right now, but I don't believe in segregation. I don't
Right.
believe of it. I mean, like, let's put it this way. Obviously, today was a monumental day. A man got justice, and this country is about justice for all. And like they said, it was like a bouquet of humanity. I
Right.
mean, that is, now we're talking.
Right.
Now we're getting into the nitty gritty of it. So I don't like the idea of segregating and saying and isolating and insulating, and my family coming over to Ellis Island and saying, okay, there was the Jewish ghetto, and then there was the Irish and the Italian, and that's wrong. That's totally,
You know
totally
what?
totally wrong.
Larry, I'm going to disagree with you, but not because I don't agree with you. I agree with you that it's wrong to judge others by their gender, their group, their ethnicity. But I disagree because one of the things I've certainly learned for me is that we have to celebrate our cultures. We have to celebrate what makes us unique and different. The Italians have a beautiful culture that we shouldn't all become a melting pot where we lose our own
I didn't
identity.
I didn't say that at all.
Right.
I
So
didn't say
so
that. I didn't say that at all. I think what's lacking here is a tolerance for other people's cultures.
right.
And that is my message. It's not like a melting pot, a mishmash
Right.
of this and that. Absolutely not. I mean, Einstein, go name all the Jews that have changed history in such incredible ways in science and music and
Right.
art. And I mean, let's face it, everyone has their thing, but the Jewish people rise in terms of culture. It's what they do. It's
Right.
in fashion. Ralph Lauren. I mean, come on, you can name names all you want.
Oh,
Go right ahead.
endless.
I, you know,
Endless.
I have no problems with that. I'm
Right.
just one. I'm just one of them. That's all I'll say.
Right.
I am just passing it on. And listen, one time my ex-wife is a photographer and they needed someone to stand. This is a great story. And they needed someone to stand in as a photographer who could roam around and take candid pictures. Like there's the formal photographer that took photographs of the bride and groom, and I was sort of the wandering photographer. I did that. And so one time there was a Sephardic wedding, and they had two rabbis. And I wore my beautiful Versace sunglasses, and I'm taking pictures, and I was up by the dais, okay, while this couple were saying their vows, and they had their tattoos made of, what's it called? Temporary tattoos made out of
Henna.
henna tattoos. The two rabbis are up there, and what happened to me? I lost it. I lost it, Avi. I cried like a baby, and they were like, everyone was looking around. That's why I needed my big sunglasses. I was so moved and so touched by what I heard from two rabbis, and it happens to me all the time. I mean, in a certain context, I have put on tefillin 7 times, and people go, "How do you know it's 7 times? How do you know?" I said, "Because every time I put it on, it was a monumental moment." Okay, I rose to another. How do you explain that? You know, I was at the airport once and they came up, "Are you Jewish?" And I said, "Of course I am. Would you mind putting on tefillin?" I said, "Are you kidding me? It's my privilege to do so."
And do
So
you know, when you do that, you are giving them one of the greatest mitzvahs that they could ever have.
well, I will tell you that the one time it happened there, one time I was in Central Park during one of the holidays with the mitzvah tank, and they said, "Are you Jewish?" And I said, "Yes, of course. Would you go in the tank?" I said, "Are you kidding me? My pleasure." And I went in, and then I held the lulav and what's it? The evil
Yeah, the esrog.
Esro, sorry,
Yes,
Esro,
that's okay.
Esro and the lulav. And I held that, and it was like such a moment for me. So you want to hear about my Jewish tales like this, or I was in a gallery in Studio City in Los Angeles, and I was, and a guy walks in, a rabbi walks in, it's Shabbos, and it's very nice. "Will you put on film?" "Of course I will." So these moments have never gone out of me to be part of that. I mean, I have to tell you, if I was not an artist, okay, now we're talking from the hip, okay, this is what you want to hear. If I was not an artist, I would be a rabbi, okay.
Wow. Isn't that
I
funny?
would
I've
study.
always said the same thing. If I were not an actor and an artist, I probably would have been a rabbi. Isn't that interesting?
Yes. And I
Yeah.
remember one time sitting somewhere where I put fulfilling in the city, and the guy had a very long beard. And I said, "Why do you have a why?" I'm just out of curiosity. What is that whole thing about? Why the beard? And he said, "Because the beard is like a tree. And the longer it grows, the more intake of knowledge I can have." And I will never forget that. And what is the kippah for? The kippah is to contain that knowledge in your head. Let me tell you something. Have you ever heard Jewish stories about Laurence Gartel? Laurence Gartel is Jewish through and through. I don't
I
want to know
know.
the stories about the atrocities and stuff. The one person in when I went to Hebrew school, they told me that Jews were made out of lampshades. It totally freaked me out, and I told my mother, "Can I take a rest from this, because this is really too horrifying for me." I was a young child, and it was really heavy for me to hear a story like that at 10 years old. I wasn't
Sure.
prepared. I
Right.
wasn't prepared because I
Right.
was going to Hebrew school way before, my bar mitzvah. For years I was going. It was part of a Sunday ritual to go to Sunday Hebrew school.
So
So
Larry, tell us when in your childhood did you realize that you were indeed an artist?
my whole life, I told you, I felt like I was drawing in my mother's womb. But I want to tell you, so I have here a postcard of my first exhibition, my first painting exhibition in 1974. If I figure that out, I was like 18 years old. And
Wow.
I had a job once, and I worked in a health food store, so I can pay for the frames of that exhibition. And I want to show you that I actually have one painting from that exhibition. I also have the price sheet of that as well. But I will show you. Can you see that painting?
Yes.
That's it.
Wow. That's the first?
That was in that exhibition. Talking about first, I mean, on my computer, I have my first drawing when I went to art school at the age of 9. That's already 18. That's 9 years later.
Wow.
My first drawing at 9 years old, going to art school, and you know what? It's very reminiscent of the Absolute ad. So the
Hmm.
Absolute ad. So we have to show everybody. It's right here. Absolute Gartel for Absolute Vodka, the longest running ad in the history of the Absolute campaign from 1991 to 2001, using the first digital camera. Yeah,
Right. We were going to show it a little later, but you beat us
just
to
show
it,
it,
so it's good.
show it. But
Well,
the point is that was using the Photoshop 2.0, of which I helped Adobe promote their product at the time. You're
right.
showing something?
I was going to, but now even this looks like it's not working. Oh my goodness. We're having a
That's it.
technical day.
That's all right.
So
I'm,
that's
I'm here
okay.
to I'm here to supply all the goodies. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So, you asked about like more Jewishness. In 2001, I had a show at the Rosen Gallery, part of the Jewish community, the JCC in Boca,
Right.
The Hand of God. Absolutely beautiful piece.
Mm, gorgeous. Gorgeous.
So, um, I just, life's a journey, and I don't make any bones about, Judaica or anything like that. And, that's why I have come to you in this moment. I don't know when you want to talk about it, but the idea of your campaign and my creating artwork to support your endeavor and making Judaica art, um, to raise money for the Avi Hoffman Initiative. What you know what you're calling it?
The
Uh,
Yiddishkeit, why I love Jewish.
why I love Jewish. Why I love Jewish is because you're home, home, shalom.
Right. So yeah, we were gonna hear. So here are some photographs of some automobiles. I
Yes.
see a Rolls Royce. I
Yeah.
see a BMW. I see a Mercedes Benz. Um,
The Tesla car, the
the
first
Tesla.
Tesla
Oh my
commissioned by
God!
Elon Musk at the top left.
Right.
That's
So the
right.
top left is Tesla. That was the first one.
Yeah, that's the first car I
So
ever created. I've made
so
64 cars since.
wow, wow.
Yeah.
So but Larry, tell us, like, I'm curious how you discovered the digital concept and then was able to take it to so many different levels. And I'm assuming that you started before there were even like computers that were doing these things.
Yes, and I showed you that. This is what I showed you just a
Right,
minute
right,
ago.
right.
1976, April of 1976. So we're celebrating the 45th anniversary right now as we speak,
Wow.
where I discovered it. And I said, you know what? Digital art is going to replace painting. And in 1989, I had a show at the Joan Whitney Payson Museum in Portland, Maine, right after they sold Van Gogh's irises at Sotheby's for $53 million. I had a show called Nouveau Japonica, uh, and um, and that work was done on a Commodore Amiga computer. The Amiga is what I taught Andy Warhol how to use to make Debbie Harry's album cover back then. So, this is a story. And by the way, here's the if you can bring me back for a moment, let me just share
Sure.
this with you.
Hold on. There you go.
Okay, this is the postcard to that exhibit at the Joan Whitney Payson.
Wow.
There it is, Nouveau Japonica, 1989.
Wow.
That's the
Amazing.
same year that I created the first digital art cover for Forbes magazine, first ever. Now, sure. I mean, how else do you do it except digital, right? Everything's digital. This
Sure.
conversation is digital.
But I
There was
remember
no
in the early days of music, when the Moog synthesizers were
synthesizer.
coming out, and you had
Yeah,
to take all these plugs and plug them in and turn the
that's it.
buttons and all. Is
Yes,
that how you were doing digital art?
yes, yes. Except I was doing it with gray values and substituting color into values of electronics. So a high frequency would be white, a dark frequency would be black, and you could substitute colors into varying values. That's
Right.
how it basically started. And then you can bend them, you can change them, you can manipulate them. And I saw that as an aesthetic way of creation.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did you go from, the computer to starting to do cars? I mean, it's like, and then you've done furniture and toys and
And the
art,
Grammys.
the Grammys, so many guitars and instrumentation. And how did you make that jump? I mean, that's just brilliant to me.
Thank you. Fearlessness. Don't be afraid of nothing,
Right,
as they say.
right,
Don't
right.
be in fear. And listen, here's an interesting thing about my career. Okay. I have been very successful. God bless.
Thank
But
God.
you have to understand something. That's after 1 million rejections. People
Right,
don't know the rejections, they only see
right,
the success,
right,
right? They don't know that someone turned me away and said, listen, come back in 30 years. And I did.
right,
And they went, well, what are you doing here? I said, I don't know. I remember when I came to your gallery, Gallery Bonino on 57th Street. And I said, I have digital art. And they said, I'm sorry, what is that? We don't know what that means. I
wow,
said, okay, well, it's making art using computers. Well, we don't understand that. Come back in 30 years. So I did. I knocked on the door 30 years later. Like, what?
wow,
What do you mean? Yeah,
wow.
because it's about persistence. So look, This is you want to hear another great Jewish story, okay? I
Sure.
just got to show you this. So look at this. Okay.
Okay.
So this is called Philip Morris Light American. Okay. This is a campaign that I did for Philip Morris in Germany.
Wow.
Okay. My art was, and this is really kind of interesting, the back piece was about past, present, and future. So the past was my entire family. Do you know what it is to have your Jewish family hanging from banners all over Germany?
Yeah.
There's pictures of my father as a soldier that are
Wow.
hanging in every city from Cologne, Munich, Hamburg, Berlin. To be a Jew doing things like this, to have your art all over Germany,
Yeah. Yeah.
my God.
Interestingly enough, I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but the answer is yes, I know, because I headlined a big festival in Munich, and the party was in the room where Hitler used to have his meetings, in his war
Incredible.
room. And I
Incredible.
was the guest of honor, a child of Holocaust survivors.
I mean,
So,
what does that do to you?
yeah,
What does that do to you?
right? No, I understand completely. It's a
I mean,
stunning.
it's an about face.
But it's
That's what it is.
pride. It made me proud to be
Yes,
Jewish. It made me
yes.
proud to be the child of survivors. And it made me proud to be able to continue the legacy. And this is why I'm so appreciative of the work that you do, because you're continuing the legacy. Let me move on to another
Yeah,
photograph.
I'm
So
sorry.
here we see the
Yes,
self-portrait
yes,
and the first book on digital art,
yes.
Laurence Gartel, A Cybernetic
Rome.
Romance. So, can you tell us a little bit about these two items?
Yes, the interesting thing is that the artist himself is the art. That's the first thing. So that image that you have there on the left, that was actually the cover of Pompano. And I'm sorry to ask you to put me back on for a moment.
Well, you're on. We can see you, but it's small. But here you
Okay,
go.
here. So there I am. There's the image that you chose is the cover of Pompano magazine on the cover.
Right.
The artist is the cover of the magazine. Okay. Anyway, we can go back to what you showed. We can go
So,
back to it.
so tell me about the book.
The book is Laurence Gartel, A Cybernetic Romance, published by Gibbs Smith. And the introduction is written by video guru Namjoon Pike. There was nobody bigger than Namjoon Pike. He was the father of video art, and he basically handed me the baton to be the next thing. And he wrote this introduction, which was absolutely fabulous. And we don't have time to read it, but it's rather amazing.
Mm,
And by him endorsing the book, it like Helen Harrison wrote the back cover story, and Helen Harrison, by the way, is the director of the Helen. Wait a second. Is the director of the Jackson Pollock Museum out in Long Island, and she wrote the introduction for the New York. She's from the New York Times. And she wrote a review on my work in 1988, I believe it was.
mm.
And maybe there's one from 79 too. I don't know. I'm losing track of time. Things
Listen,
are
I
going on.
also I also happen to notice that in the Encyclopedia of Art,
Yes. Yeah,
you are basically the last chapter.
that's correct.
How did that happen?
Well, I guess there's nobody to claim that space. So,
But
Lawrence
I mean, did
Gartel.
somebody call you up? I want to hear the phone call. I want to hear about the phone call. Hello, ring, ring, ring. Hello, is this Laurence Gartel?
No,
Yes.
Lawrence Gartel found out about it after it was published. I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't even know?
No, no,
Wow.
no, no,
Wow. That's
no.
even more mind-boggling.
Yeah, it is mind-boggling. I didn't even know. I'm in the last page of art history. I'm also the forward to the world of digital art. So The world of digital art. I'm the forward to the whole story, and La Storia dell'Arte, which is the story of art, where it starts off with cave paintings and goes through every major movement. I am the last page. And
Wow.
no one told me about it. I had to find out myself by getting the book. How do you
Wow.
like that?
Oh my God. All right. So now I'm going to play a little video that I found, which
Yes.
I was blown away by.
Good.
Oh,
Ah,
ah,
yeah.
Artwork for the event. Laurence, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're so glad that you're here. Tell us about what your is this an official art piece that's going to be there on Saturday night?
Yes, this is a one-of-a-kind guitar that I just made. It's the first multimedia guitar ever in the history. And basically what it is this is my artwork on the front of the guitar, and it's playing a movie called Cymatics, which is the art itself. So it's the first multimedia guitar. It also has a plug so it can go to big screens so that the performer can play and perform and see all the artwork so everyone can see them. It's absolutely one of a kind, and it's the first ever.
Wow.
We're showing it here live today.
Amazing. And this plays as well. So
of
musicians
course,
can pick it up and
Lenny Kravitz could play this, or any major rock star would love to play this. It has great sound. It was made for performance, actually, aside from it being like
that's amazing.
Beautiful.
When did this vision come to you? Did you just imagine, you know, the edge from U2 up there, even though he plays the bass? But
yeah,
I mean, or no, the guitar.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just sort of like, you know, I've made guitars before for Gibson, one-of-a-kinds that were sold to collectors in Europe, and I just thought that, what am I going to do differently? This past year I've wrapped cars for Tesla, for Ferrari. I just wrapped a Rolls Royce in my artwork, so I'm always like thinking outside the box, being innovative. Like
I was going to say, there you go.
Absolute ad for Absolute Vodka was done in 1990.
Wow.
And my ad for Think Different ad also.
For Apple.
For Apple. Steve Jobs personally commissioned this piece.
That's amazing.
So they had Gold in My Ear, Jackie Robinson, Jim Henson, and I'm the only living artist that
so
actually
I
have
mean,
that ad, which
again,
is a little frightening.
I am blown away. I'm just blown away. You know, I'm not often speechless. Usually I always have something to say or an opinion, but the creativity, the thinking out of the box to take a guitar, an electric guitar, and turn it into its own video, you know, multimedia performance art instrument. How does that happen? How did you come up with that?
You have to think 30 years ahead of yourself. That's basically it. You know, I am someone who can think of something that has never been done before and make something rather different. I mean, that's hence the Think Different ad for Apple. You know, that's the greatest ad ever made, because no one's ever done anything like that. And look what I'm pulling in front of me now. I've got my toy. I've got my new Shishibo, which stands for Shape Shifting Box. And you can make all sorts of different things with it, different shapes. And you can make 70 different shapes. There are 36 earth magnets in here. And if you put things together, you can, this is like two different cubes right here. Look, there's a cube inside here. I don't know if you can see. Look.
No, you got to put it in front of the camera. Ah, there you go. Wow.
Look, here's this, and it goes inside here.
So this is like,
this is like high quality. It's taking a Rubik's Cube 10 billion times further. That's what this is.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's like the 21st century version of a 3D sophisticated art Rubik's Cube.
Yes. And when you go into a museum, what's the first thing they say? Don't touch.
Right.
And this is all about touching art.
So where
touching lives, touching. Where can people find it is what you're going to ask. Very simple. It's in every single Barnes and Noble in the country.
My God.
Go into, there's 500 Barnes and Nobles. It's also the #1 selling toy on Amazon.
Wow.
Shishibo, shape-shifting box.
Shishibo.
Look,
wow.
it starts out like this. Look, it starts out like this. Look at, here it is.
Cool. That is so cool. Oh my
Right?
God.
It starts off as this. It just looks like a shape, but it's
Right.
not. It's a lot. There's a lot to it. And there's the limited edition for the collector. It comes in a, let's see if I can show you this. It comes in a box.
Wow. Look at that.
Comes in a
That's
box.
amazing.
And then you open it up. Where is it? Hold on. Here. Here's the box. And you open
Right.
it up. Can you see this? And there's another box.
Right. Right.
And then you take it out. Hold on. I'm going to take it out. You take the sleeve off. Okay.
Yeah.
So take the sleeve off. Pardon me. And here's another box. Whoops, where am I?
There you go.
And there's another box.
Shishibo. Wow.
Shishibo.
So, but let me ask you about the process. So you came up with the idea. Go
Yes,
ahead.
let me just show you. Let me just finish. So here, it comes with a box. It comes with a guide to show you all the shapes that you can make with
Wow.
each of the cubes, okay?
Mm.
And then there's a 50-page booklet on Laurence Gartel. Because the people don't know, they have to learn who Laurence Gartel is, all the things I've done all over the world.
Right.
It's all here.
So
From that, 1 second. Then it comes with a limited edition print and a certificate of authenticity. And after you've gone through all of that stuff, there are the cubes.
amazing.
One
So
of
there are
these-
separate cubes and then you can connect them together?
Yes, that's right. And
Wow.
that is $299. There's only 2,021 of these things, limited edition. And you can find that at gartelshishibo.com.
Wow.
gartelshishibo.com.
So you created this, you came up with the idea, you had to obviously design it, engineer it, figure it all out. How does it go from your brain into Barnes and Noble?
I'm working with a company that is a toy company that manufactures this. And the people, it's really about people seeing it. We introduced it at the Toy Fair at the Jacob Javits Center last February, and we have sold 500,000 cubes
Oh
since.
my God. Oh my God.
It's in every toy store in the country.
So that actually brings me to the next question. So how did things like Coca-Cola and the Absolute that I'm showing everybody now?
Look at that.
These are iconic images.
Iconic images.
Did Absolute call you up and say, Mr. Gartel, we would like you to do Absolute vodka? I mean, how does that happen?
I'm going to tell you how that happens. Absolute is a great, great, great story. So I saw Absolute, and Andy Warhol did the first Absolute for them. And I wrote them a letter, and I said, I'd like to do an ad that's digital art because you've never done digital art before. And by the way, this is 1990. This is 30 years ago. And they went, digital art. So this one guy who was in charge said, do me a favor, write Mr. Gartel, thank you very much, but no thanks. And he wrote that on a Post-it note, and the lady sent it to me unknowingly. His note was attached to her letter that said, no thank you. And I said, you know what? Never take no thank you for an answer. So I took that letter and I called up the president of the company 5 minutes after 5. The secretary was gone, and I explained to him the situation. And he said, are you kidding me? That's what happened to you? I said, yes, it's ridiculous. And he said, come to my office. And I came to his office in New Jersey. He says, we have to have you. And he told them to use it, to use Laurence Gartel.
Huh.
That's how it happened. That's how that happened. And I want you to know that the guy who told me no thank you became my best friend, because years later I showed him the Post-it, and I said, Richard, this one's
Wow.
not going to get away.
That's amazing. That's
And
amazing.
what's really amazing about the story is that I am in Richard's book called Absolute Book.
Wow.
And there's one line. I only get one line in this book. Let me find it. This is extraordinary because it has every important absolute ad ever. Wait, I got to find this for you. Bear with me 1 minute. I'm going to find you.
That's
I think
okay.
it's, what page is this on? Yeah, because he did absolute intelligence. They did absolute intelligence at that time. What year is this? Doesn't say. Absolute's first visit to Silicon Valley seemed almost quaint today, but in 1989, several computer generations ago, being an integral part of a computer chip was, well, leading edge. So they sent me that ad. This is what Richard sent me. And he said, thanks, but no thanks. We just did something like this. I was like, that's bullshit. Oops, sorry to say that.
No, it's fine.
So what happened is here it is in the book. One line, Absolute Gartel. Laurence Gartel created Absolute's first piece of digital art in 1991. Happy anniversary, 30 years later today. Wow. Absolute Gartel was born.
Wow.
How about that? How about that?
Amazing.
And the story lives on because it became the longest running ad in the history of the campaign, something he said no thank you to.
Wow.
Could you imagine?
So Larry,
became iconic.
So I think what you are proving to me is something we've talked about several times on our own. This idea that to get to be as blessed as you are, as blessed as I am, the idea that you have to never give up, number one.
No.
Never give up. Always believe, always have faith that you're in the right place at the right time with the right project, and then you get mazel. So you have had a lot of mazel.
Wow.
As I have. So I'm very excited by the idea that you and I have known each other for years. We actually met doing a Jewish project for the Boca JCC.
Correct.
When they did a Maccabi, like the Maccabi games, only for the arts, Maccabi Art Fest.
Yes.
And you were doing digital art with all these high school students. I was doing theater. It was a beautiful little project. And it was really nice. And I got to meet you and get to know you and know how generous you are with your time and your talent.
And I created the official art for that event.
I remember.
So, I always just promote what I believe in. Right. If there's more things that I believe in, then there's more things that I promote. And yeah, I'm lucky that Coca-Cola called me up and they said, we'd like you to be the official artist of the Atlanta Olympics, that your work was going to be the promotional material, the marketing material, the merchandising. They put my art on everything, pencils, this, that, for all the licensees, towels, whatever. They were banners with my artwork all over Atlanta. It was huge, So yeah. And then the Grammys, they said, "Oh my God, we saw your artwork on art cards. Do you think you could do it for us?" And I said, "What do you want?" And they said, "Well, we don't want Photoshop. We want the real thing."
Right.
So there you go, the official artwork wrapping the one-of-a-kind Grammy statue, the only artist on the red carpet. 30,000 of the greatest entertainers of all time, and Laurence Gartel as the singular visual artist.
That's amazing.
On the red carpet.
And how big is, and the original of that Grammy Award, how big is that?
No. It's the one-of-a-kind 5.5-foot Grammy statue,
right?
That sat like on stage and was in the Grammy Museum for a couple of years. And then it was in the Recording Academy lobby, and they moved it to the Grammy Experience in New Jersey, where I believe it is today.
Wow.
It was the poster, the invitation, the VIP tickets. Everyone who walked in had a VIP ticket with the Grammy artwork on the ticket. I mean, everyone has. Everyone from
Wow.
Paul McCartney on, everyone, Lady Gaga, they all have the ticket.
So, what would you say to young artists today that, who are working in digital? Everybody's now digital. Everything is digital. So much is digital. What would you tell young artists today, in terms of
Well,
sticking with it?
first of all, I am living it. I am not just doing it, I am living it. The official art for the NBA championship finals, to have the artwork down the hallway of the Oasis Tower and the Seminole Hard Rock Guitar Hotel, where everyone is convening, and then meeting the Jewish writer, because you want me to say that, the Jewish writer of the USA Today saw me and said, "My God, I see your picture. You're in the artwork." I said, "Yes, I'm the artist." "Oh my God!" So she wrote the article, and she included some quotes that I said for her article in USA Today that was then picked up by the Associated Press and blah blah blah. And what do I tell people? Be yourself. Like my son, who loves sneakers since the age of 14, that just opened his store, Headache Trading, on Atlantic Avenue, where he just had his grand opening 2 weeks ago. He's got 500 hard to find sneakers on the wall. He's following his dream. My daughter is a hair colorist. She won the greatest hair colorist of the world. She's following her dream. Do
Wow.
what you love. Follow your passion. This is what it's about. It's about having integrity. Know yourself, love other people. But the whole thing is, know who you are and follow what it is that you love. There's no like, it's a career. That's nonsense. It's your life. Follow your life. Forget the
Ah,
career. This is
wow.
follow what you love. And you know what, Avi? It's meeting people like yourself and others along the way.
Right.
This is not about me. This is about finding you and finding you and coalescing with you to come up with a project to say, you know what? I want to contribute to this man because I think he has a worthy cause. And I'm going to make artwork that will make everyone ignite their Jewishness inside them. That's the goal.
So I guess we've just let the cat out of the bag, Larry.
That's it.
So,
You didn't
Larry
say it.
Gartel, I could not be more proud to have you not only as a guest on our Schmoozing with Avi show, but also to know that you have basically agreed to join our efforts to bring Why I Love Jewish to the world.
That's right.
And really look at your Jewishness from that perspective and help us to express it. So I
That's
could not
right.
be prouder to call you my friend. I couldn't be prouder to call you an associate. And is there anything else you want to say before I thank our sponsors and go to the end?
Yes, I want to say that you're on a mission. I'm on the same mission you're on. And that's it, to spread your seichel, your core to the rest of the world, and to ignite others who are maybe dormant about their Jewishness to come up and say, my God, rise.
Right.
This is a very spiritual thing, Avi. Of course you know that, but
Right.
I am cognizant of it, and I am rising because of it. It's knowing who you are and
Right.
identifying with yourself. It's full circle to what you said at the beginning of the program about, okay, people don't know your Jewishness. Yeah, you know what? They're about to really find out.
Uh, I couldn't be more proud and more excited to be with you, to work with you, to talk to you, to plan with you. And you know what's most important to me is not only the idea of exploring our Jewishness and not only the idea of being proud of being Jewish. We are living in an age, Larry, where anti Semitism is rearing its ugly head all over the world, here in America, all over Europe. People, more and more people are hating us again. And so
Well,
I created Why I Love Jewish to basically tell the world why they should love us and not hate us. We don't threaten anybody. We just bring
well,
art and music and culture and theater and film and television and all this wonderful stuff. What do you have there to show us?
I'm showing you that here I am with the Chancellor of Austria, Victor Klima, who gave me a Lifetime Achievement Award. Imagine being in Innsbruck, Austria, in front of 6,000 Austrians. And Friedenstreich Hunterwasser was the person they honored before me, post World War II Austrian painter. Okay. They could have picked anyone in the world. This was 1997. 1998, they honored me for Lifetime Achievement. 98. And there is Victor Klima and I. And it was in thousands of magazines, thousands of newspapers. I have them all where they honored me. Little Laurence Gartel, little Jewish boy in front of all these Austrians. If it was 1943, I would have been shot.
That's right. I have a little Innsbruck story too before we leave. It's not quite as happy. I was
Okay.
headlining a big festival in Innsbruck. There was a party afterwards. And again, I was so happy and so proud that in Innsbruck, in Austria, the birthplace of Adolf,
Yeah.
there we were celebrating Jewishness. And there was a young guy in the corner who was looking at me. And he kept looking at me and looking at me. And finally, he came up in front of all these people. There were hundreds of people at the party. And he said, "You know, you have a very big mouth for a Jew. Maybe I should shut it for you." So that's the bad story. The good story is that all the people that were there, all the Austrians, started screaming at him, "You stupid, get out of here, get out of here." And they evicted him from the place and humiliated him in front of everyone. But I was afraid that he and his friends were going to be waiting for me 5 blocks away. So everybody walked me back to my hotel so I would be safe.
Well,
So we have to do everything we can to fight the hatred, fight the anti Semitism, be proud of who we are, and just
well,
engage
the
in.
way to do that is to have success. And success is the way to dissipate all that negativity, Avi. And I'm signed up for that.
Well,
Believe me.
you and me both. Larry Gartel, ladies and gentlemen, the great Laurence Gartel, father of digital art. You will be hearing a lot more about Larry or Laurence and our relationship with Why I Love Jewish. There's a lot of things we can't talk about yet, but it's
Yes.
coming. Thank you, Larry. I will
Thank you.
talk to you very soon. I'm going to turn off your video and I am going to just go to the end of our program. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry for the technical difficulties we had. I know that we were having some problems in the beginning. Most of you on Facebook started watching, and then suddenly, apparently, we were suspicious to Facebook, and so they took us off. But we'll post this from YouTube on Facebook so you don't miss it. In the meantime, next Tuesday, I will be doing another schmooze with Andy Rose, the CEO of Kvell Communications. So come kvel with us. We have our Yiddish classes. We have our Yiddish programs. We're planning a whole series of events into the future, a big campaign to bring you some of the best Jewish culture that you could possibly find, with celebrities all over the world, like my dear friend Larry Gartel. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy what we do, please go to our website, whyilovejewish.org. Go to our donation page, go to our Donate Now page. All of our programs are free to the public, and that's how I like it. So, thank you so much. And once again, I want to thank our sponsors, and especially our beloved Yaakov Heller, here live at Gallery 22. So I will see you next week. All right, same time, same station.
The David and Goliath, David being one of my heroes as a child growing up, being steeped in stories, biblical stories in Sunday school of the heroes of the Bible. Young David bringing down the giant Goliath, the head of the Philistine army, with a stone, a pebble, and a slingshot. Hit him right between the eyes, knocked him down, and then went over and killed him with a sword and brought his head to Jerusalem. That was a story that it's been presented by people to their doctors who have fought against cancer. It's been used for so many symbolic gifts, the weak against the mighty, or the small against the mighty. It's a very symbolic gift that Gerald Ford received from Yitzhak Rabin in his plea for more arms and ammunition in the Yom Kippur War. After the Yom Kippur War, to replace what Israel lost, a small country with mighty oppressors attacked by 5 Arab countries at one time. 1 million against hundreds of millions.